He helped bring down one of China's most corrupt officials. So why is the country cheering his downfall? Zhenghua, China's former justice minister and deputy police chief, seemed to have all the stars aligned for a high-flying official career. But instead, the 66-year-old has now become a target himself in Xi's relentless crackdown on graft and disloyalty, which critics say has also been used to purge political rivals. On Saturday, the ruling Communist Party's anti-corruption watchdog announced Fu is under investigation for serious violations of party discipline and law. His willingness to challenge the business interests of powerful families won him praise in state media and the trust of the leadership. In 2013, she appointed him to spearhead a graft probe into Zhou Yongkang, China's former security czar and retired member of the Politburo Standing Committee, the pinnacle of power in the party. Zhou was jailed for life in 2015 for corruption and abuse of power.
But Fu was not just taking on corrupt political elites. As the Deputy Minister of Public Security, in 2013 he unleashed a sweeping crackdown on opinion leaders on Chinese social media site Weibo, detaining several high-profile commentators with large followings. He was also in charge of the nationwide roundup of human rights lawyers and activists in 2015, in what has become infamously known as the 709 crackdown, according to people close to the detained lawyers.
Following news of his downfall, several veteran investigative journalists said on social media they had been targeted by Fu for their hard-hitting reports on topics ranging from illegal detention of petitioners to local government corruption. Yu Jianrong, a prominent Chinese sociologist at the Chinese Academy of Social Sciences, a government think tank, accused Fu of trying to silence him in 2010 for speaking out against Beijing's alleged persecution of petitioners.
The targets of Fu Zhenghua's crackdown are people at the core of China's civil society. Therefore, the country's whole intellectual sector and the wider public are all thrilled by, said Wu Qiang, a political analyst in Beijing. His rise to power represented the aggressive iron fist approach that has shaped China's governance over the past decade. Fu's heavy-handed approach was also applied to police officers and prison guards, some of whom applauded their former boss' downfall as most gratifying. Commenting on social media, many accused Fu of imposing grueling and unreasonably harsh requirements on grassroots officers, such as not allowing prison guards to take breaks during night shifts. Officials in China's domestic security apparatus were urged to turn the blade inwards and scrape the poison off the bone and to expose two-faced people who are disloyal and dishonest to the party. The announcement of the investigation into Fu comes just days after Sun Lijun, another former vice minister of public security, was expelled from the party and accused of corruption and harboring hugely inflated political ambitions. A third deputy police chief and former head of the international policing agency Interpol was sentenced last year to 13.5 years in prison for corruption.
Wu, the analyst, said the series of purges betray the fragility of trust from the Chinese leadership in the country's domestic security agencies. It is very difficult for Beijing to have political trust. This is the biggest crisis in its governance, he said.
Thank you for watching. Please subscribe.